So let's have the introduction for our statistics. So this afternoon until tomorrow, our objectives will be we will identify the categories of statistics and we will set out a system for describing different types of data. So when you say statistics class, I believe in your high school, you also have your statistics. So it's not new sa inyo ha. Sa college lang kasi i-ano natin siya, i-associate natin siya with the research. So syempre, ang research na is I hope kanang related sa ato ang course. So pag sinabing statistics, kaya sabi ko kanina, computation kasi it's a branch of mathematics dealing with first collection of our data. And then after collecting it, we will be organizing it. And then we will also learn how to present our collected data. So, dili lang po siya taman sa presentation. We have to know how to analyze our data and at the same time interpret it. Kasi ang numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we know that these are numbers but we need to have meanings for that. So, ingana to ang gamit sa statistics, especially sa research. Kasi ang research for some is burdensome, pero actually, most of the things that we have nowadays are products of research. So that's how important research is. And that's how important statistics is also. Kasi we cannot interpret what we have collected during our research or research experimentation or conduct of our research. We cannot interpret them without statistics. So, syempre, the data that we are collecting, analyzing, and interpreting in research are numerical data. Though I told you a while ago, wait lang ha, excuse me, about statistics. So again, numerical data to ha, pero ingon ko kagaina, i-associate nato siya sa research. Pero let me remind you na ang research is not exclusive for the collection, analysis, and interpretation of numerical data because we can conduct research and collect data na hindi ano siya, dili siya ma-quantify, meaning walay numerical value. So, diri ta mag-focus sa mga research na naay numerical data. So, kailangan nato siya ma-process ang ato ang numerical data, ma-interpret nato siya so that we can arrive in a more effective na decision. So, just like sa tambal, so far karon ang hot issue is the vaccine, 'di ba? Vaccine for the COVID-19. So, ang pag-produce ng vaccine is through research. And they cannot come up with a decision whether the vaccine is effective or not or safe or not if they don't use statistics. So, mo na nga before mo mag-research sa inyong third year, mauna sa ning statistics. Okay? You can butt in anytime ha if you have questions or if you think na paspas ra kaayo ko, basi nag-rap na ko din hiyo, dili ko makabantay. Most especially na wala ko'y audience. Murag, actually, it's kind of awkward pag istorya na murag wala kay ka-istorya. So, you tell me if paspas ra kay ko. Okay, now let's talk about the collection of data. When you say collection of data, it refers to the method, the process, and everything you do just to gather numerical information. Now, sa research, what we do to collect this data are the following. Either we conduct interviews with the respondents of our study or participants of our study, and then but most of the time, most researchers use questionnaire. But sa pharmacy na side, although we conduct researches involving interviews and questionnaires, but sa pharmacy na side, most of the time we do experimentation. And most likely, the results of our experiments are in numerical form. So we can do statistics. And then we can also do observations, and for some researches, they do documentary analysis. So these are just methods in gathering numerical information. Next, after gathering the data, we have to present our data. So when you say presentation of data, it refers to the arrangement and exposition of our data in appropriate forms like using tables and graphs. So meron tayong mga graphical presentations na we can use to clearly present our data like the bar graphs, the frequency polygon, the pie graphs, and many other graphical presentations. However, let me remind you that in our research, sa presentation of data, most of the time we use the tables. Kasi we really need to, what do you call that? We really need to place all the data nga makita siya dayon. Kaya kapag naka-graph man good siya, most likely di na nato makita ang numerical na ano niya no, numerical na value. So we use tables in presenting our data. And then after that, we really have to analyze it. So pag analysis of data, this is where we describe the properties or the characteristics or behaviors sa data na ating na gather. And aside from that, we will be looking for possible relationship among our data or among the variables sa ating research. And then, after analysis, we have to interpret our data. So when you say interpreting the data, um, it's where we explain the meaning of the statistical finding from the previous na step. And the interpretation of our data will be used in the formulation of our conclusions and generalizations or inferences. Yan. And then diretso-diretso na siya hangtod sa recommendations. Do you have questions so far? Wala? So,
None, ma'am.
sige. Huwag diretso ta. Lamira ba ikatulog ang time sa ato ang klase. So, ang first ra ba nga gihimo ani nga schedule ni Ma'am Eroy kay diretso atong klase. Thursday 1:30 to 4:30. So, ang kaning final schedule ninyo karon ako'y nagbuhat ana sa tanan schedule ninyo karon. Gihati na ko siya kasi looking at the school calendar, most of the holidays fall on Thursday and Friday. And if ever na siya holiday, unya diretso atong klase sa Thursday, wala na ko yung mabilin nga time for the week. So malisdan ko. Kaya nahati siya. And it's 1 to 2:30. Medyo lami siya ikatulog. Pero I hope maminaw mo. Pero pag dili nagyud kaya, wala tayong mabuhatan. I'll be sending the recordings na lang. So, let's continue. We'll have categories of our statistics. So, just like our research, naapod tayo categories sa statistics na similar sa research nato. Okay, so the first one is descriptive statistics. Descriptive, from the word descriptive, you just want to describe the collected data or kung unsa man ang data na ato ang nag-gather, ato lang siyang i-describe or i-summarize. I-describe nato iyang characteristics, ang iyang properties. And sa descriptive na statistics, hangtod din lang ka sa description. Dili ka maghatag og conclusion, dili ka maghatag og inferences. I-summarize, igo lang gid nato siya i-summarize ug i-describe. So for example aning descriptive statistics. Number 1, getting the census of the IQ level of the BS Pharmacy students of GSDMSFI. So sa akong pagkaalala, 81 ata mo kabuok. 80, we have 81, 90 at ang target. Example lang, 90 pharmacy students sa GSDMSFI, and then you want to get the IQ levels of each student. So, kato lang, kwaon lang nimo. So, atuwa lang siyang i-lista, atuwa lang siyang i-summarize, na mauni siya ang IQ sa mga estudyante sa pharma, sa doctors. Pero, taman lang ka din ha. Taman lang ka din ha, wala na'y lain pa na himuon, dili ka maghatag og conclusion. Taman lang ta sa summary. Okay, another one is Tracer study of the Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy graduates of GSDMSFI. When you say Tracer study, we will be looking for the graduates sa school, and then ano lang nato sila kanang atuang i-trace kung nakapasa na ba sila board exam, i-trace natin kung nakapasa na sila, nag-work na ba sila, and kung nag-work sila, asa sila connected, government ba or private, and kung unsang klaseng work, kung sa community pharmacy ba, kung sa hospital, sa manuf, and other na mga areas sa pharmacy. Ingana ang tracer studies. So descriptive statistics lang siya, kayo are just getting the information about the graduates. I-summarize natin like 50% sa ating graduate nasa community pharmacy, and then 40% of our graduates nasa hospital pharmacy. So yun lang ang gagawin mo. You don't give inferences and conclusion. Na descriptive, purely descriptive lang siya. So again, the objective of this type of statistics is to simply describe and summarize the features, properties, or characteristics of our data. Na. And then another type of statistics is the inferential statistics. So sa inferential statistics, ito na yung nagre-require ng higher na critical skills or higher critical judgment and higher na mathematical methods. Kasi inferential statistics aims na i-analyze ang atuang data. I-analyze mismo siya, and ang analysis will be used to make conclusions and inferences or generalization. Ana. So, diri na tumusulod ang hypothesis testing. When you say hypothesis class, it's an educated guess or a tentative solution to a certain problem. So kapag ka nagamit kag inferential statistics, since you have a tentative solution to your problem, using the statistical tool, you can make inferences, or you can make a decision whether to accept the tentative solution or not. So mana siya ang gamit ni inferential statistics. So let's have an example. Comparing the effectiveness of two antihypertensive drugs. Do you know an antihypertensive drug sa market? Can you give me one? Isang example sa itong mga antihypertensive sa market?
Losartan.
Okay, very good. Losartan. Give me another one.
Amlodipine, ma'am.
Ultimate, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Amlodipine na. Amlodipine and then losartan. So, those are the examples of our antihypertensive drugs. Example, you're a pharmacist and then you want to know whether unsa ang mas effective Si losartan ba or si amlodipine? So kana, dili lang siya taman sa descriptive statistics wherein ilista lang nimo nga sa 100 ka tawo nga nag-take aning losartan, 50% kabuok ang naayo, tapos diri sa amlodipine 40%. Pili lang siya taman ana. We have to analyze, we have to compare them, analyze, and then interpret nato ato ang result hangtod makabuhat tag conclusion kung kinsa gyud ba ang mas effective kaning isa ka drug, drug A or ang drug B, losartan or amlodipine. Mao na siya. And then another thing, predicting the academic performance of the BS pharmacy students and the factors affecting it. So, under gihapon siya sa inferential statistics because we will be collecting the academic performance, the level of academic performance of our BS Pharmacy students. Tanan-tanan, kung unsa ba ang ilahang academic performance. Good ba? Satisfactory lang ba? Or very high? High, ana? And then, after that, we'll be determining the factors nganong ingana ang academic performance sa mga estudyante. Unsa ang mga factors na nag-influence anan? Study habits ba nila? Naabay mga home-related factors? Or naabay mga teacher-related factors nganong ingana ilang academic performance? And then afterwards, we will be making inferences based on the analyzed and interpreted data. Okay? So, again, sa inferential statistics, there will be analysis and interpretation of the data. Sa descriptive statistics, description lang. We will just be describing the data. No inferences, no generalizations, no analysis, and no interpretation. Another example sa inferential statistics is this one, evaluating the patient's perception on branded and generic drugs. So, pwede po ni siya mahimong study. Let us know what is the perception of the citizens of General Santos City when it comes to the use of branded and generic drugs. So ato silang either you interview them or we will be making questionnaires. Ano na lang nila, answeran na lang nila. We will have numerical data dito. And then, dili lang nato taman ilista ang ilahang mga answer. Ato ang i-analyze and then i-interpret until we can make a conclusion whether the citizen of General Santos City favors the use of branded drugs compared to the generic drugs. Pero as pharmacy student, what do you think? I want to know the perception of the second year pharmacy students about the branded and generic drugs. Bidaw? What do you think?
Dako gid siya nga factor, ma'am, nga ano, nga branded siya.
Branded. Do you favor the use of branded drugs compared to the generic? Yes, Sheila.
For me, ma'am, mas prefer ko pa rin gamitin yung generic drugs kasi it is under the law kasi may generic law tayo na hindi pwedeng mataas yung presyo niya compared to the branded drugs.
Okay. Sige. How about the others? What do you think of the branded and the generic drugs?
Dati ma'am, kay branded. Kay makaingan ka na, branded ba yan ni?
Parang
Gani, ma'am,
sinina lang.
dako jud na factor. Dako na factor ang iyang ano.
Parang sinina lang, ana. Sige na, mas okay pa rin ang generic kasi cheaper, pero same efficacy with the branded. So, for me, kay generic name lang kay same lang man ang active pharmaceutical ingredient na gigamit. Okay, let us be clear ha, as pharmacists. There is no difference when it comes to efficacy. When you say branded drugs are generic, branded drugs. Branded drugs are effective. That is true. Branded drugs are effective. However, generic drugs are also effective. So meaning, parehas lang sila. Parehas lang sila og effect. Na sila effect. Umingon ka og say pinakasikat, paracetamol. Umingon kag biogesic. Yeah, that's effective. But I want the cheaper one. Cheaper man jud good basta generic. Okay, so kung balik ko dito sa generic ka, na sila dito generic na paracetamol lang. Advertise ng generic ka. Generic ka pharmacy. Okay. Parehas lang. Wala gihapon ng labad sa kuang ulo. So, nagihapon sila effect. So, asa man na sila nagkaiba? Class, please take note na ang atong mga drugs, na sila tulo ka pangalan. At least tulo ka pangalan. Ang number 1, chemical name. Chemical name, dyan nila, kanang taas kay nila nga name. Human naman siguro mag organic chemistry. So, pag moingon kag chemical name sa drug, most likely that is the ayupak name. Bisan unsa pa na siya kataas. Chemical name na siya sa drug. Ay kaduhang pangalan sa drug, ang generic name. Generic name, class, is the abbreviation of the chemical name. So abbreviation na siya like sa paracetamol. The chemical name of paracetamol is APAP. Acetyl para-aminophenol. That's the name of paracetamol. And then, ilahang gi-abbreviate, so we can call it paracetamol or acetaminophen. Muna siya ang generic name. And then the third name is the brand name. Ang brand name is given by the manufacturer. Depende sa ila kung how do they name their product, and that name, the brand name, is protected by a copyright. So dito na sila nagkaiba. The branded drugs, they have the name na ginapangalagaan that is again protected by the copyright, and most of the time mao man gud na atong ginabayaran. So like si John Lloyd, ginabayaran nato siya para mag-ingat. Wait lang. Yeah, very good. Tama na siya. The public has to be educated na kanang when we talk about efficacy, effective gihapon ang mga generic drugs. So ang atong mga manufacturer class sa generic act nato, kanang they are also required to make a generic counterpart of their branded drugs. Mo na siyang nahitabo karon. 'Di ba ang Unilab product man na nilang biogesic. So kay mandated naman sila sa law na maghimo og generic counterpart, mao na nga naanak si RightMed. Kasi RightMed is still under sa Unilab, pero mauna siya ang ilahang generic counterpart. So, kumuingon kag paracetamol na RightMed o biogesic, parehas lang sila paracetamol, parehas sila og manufacturer, parehas sila og effect. Okay? Phenylephrine is a generic name. So, what do you mean kailangan ninyo i-memorize, Carl? Unsa i-memorize na to? Unsa i-memorize na to? Ito, ayupak names of drug. Actually, no. We don't need to memorize the ayupak name of the drugs. But, there are drugs that you really need to know their chemical name. So, parehas ato akong giingon kagaina. Wait, where is my pen? Let me get my pen first. Sulat na ko, ha? Okay. Nalang tayo mga drugs na kailangan ninyo mabalaan. Just like the paracetamol kagaina, ingon ko APAP. So, acetyl para aminophenol. Yan. And then, kung mga examples lang ha, kanang mga common lang. Kay mo lang ni ang gina-question. And then we have the ASA. ASA is acetyl salicylic acid. So this is the chemical name of aspirin. Yan. Mga ingana lang. Dili tanan ha, mabuang taan na. Kung na makagraduate pharma, kung tanan ni pa-memorize. Okay? So, kanala mga examples. You will learn other drugs, other chemical names of drugs as you move on to the next na mga subjects. Actually, pag first year o second year mo, murag dili pa kaayo ninyo feel, di pa kayo na to feel na pharmacy student ha. Kaya unsa pa inyong mga subjects more on chemistry, sugod mo sa inorg-chem, org-chem, tapos biochem. Naalang mo yung DDS, I think, pero DDS is just dosage form. You will learn a lot about dosage forms. Pero talking about drugs, you'll have it sa higher year pa. Ana. Okay? So again ha, please do not forget that when it comes to efficacy, I'm talking about efficacy. There is no difference between the branded and the generic drug. So when you become pharmacist pohon, let your customer decide kung unsa ilahang paliton. Kung gusto jud sila og gusto jud sila og branded, wala tay mabuhat. But we can also give them options. Labi na sa mga nagatipid, no? Okay. So diri sa kutaman kay 2:27 na tama lang ta 2:30 no kay 1 hour and 30 minutes. So mao lang to. Two types of statistics, inferential and descriptive. Ha? Descriptive kung mag-describe lang ta, just like you want to know the academic performance of the second year pharmacy students. So tanawon lang nato ang ilahang GWA. Di ba inyong mga grade, gina-total, ginakuha ang GWA. Kana lang, ilista lang nato nga kanisipuan mao ni iyahang grado 1.5 tapos another student iya pod 1.75. Ana lang, pero wala kay himuon nga inferences and generalizations. Diri na ta maghimo og inferences or generalizations sa inferential statistics kay it involves analysis and interpretation of the data. How do we analyze? We will be using inferential statistical tools. Parehas anang mga t-test, mga ANOVA, mao na ang mga ginatawag og statistical tool na pwede gamiton again for the analysis sa atuang data. Pero sa statistics, ang atuang tun-an gikan sa collection sa data, the presentation of the data, analysis, and interpretation. So hangtod sa end sa SEM, mao na ato ang istoryahan. So tomorrow we will continue. We will be talking about research variables and measurements. And after that, we will have the levels of measurements or the data types that we can use in statistics.